And what that is that we have to do next after we have knowledge. After we did the first thing, after we gained the science of the number one, the science of the number one, we gained that. That's the abstract idea, the concept of what this actually is all about. We did that. Now what we're going to do? We got to have wisdom. See, wisdom is the activity Wisdom is knowledge seen, the activity of knowledge. Wisdom is the next thing that we have to do once we know something. When we know something, we have to apply that what we just came into a knowledge of by acting on it. Applying it meaning speaking on it, meaning going and doing what it is that we just learned to do, meaning doing the duty of a civilized man. So wisdom is what you see. Now you consider the wise man having a wise dome, as we always look into the words. And we seeing that wisdom dealing with the most important factor of life. Because the most important factor of life is that part of you that is we can receive. We receive wisdom because wisdom is the bearer and what? Receiver of life. And wisdom symbolically is what? Is symbolically the woman. Because wisdom implies to knowledge like woman implies to man. See, wisdom and woman are like the sustenance to the life of knowledge in man. Their wisdom in woman is like the bearer or the ground to knowledge in man. So wisdom is more important, so to speak, because we can't see what we've done unless we made that bond. Yeah. So wisdom being the activity of knowledge, being knowledge in action. Wisdom symbolically being the woman. And in our solar system, wisdom symbolically being the moon. You know, because the moon receives its light from the sun. The moon is, 246,000 miles away from our planet. And the moon has a way of reflecting the light of our sun back onto the planet, being its position and being its mileage that it is, which we deal with the 2, the 4, and the 6, which are all even numbers, which are all numbers that deal with the what? That deals with the woman. All even numbers are wisdom. And all odd numbers are odd, which are God. See, so what we're going to do is we're going to break it down and come here and say, once we gain knowledge, once we know, and once we started doing and acting upon what we know, we begin to do what? See things different. Okay? We begin to understand now. So number 3, we're going to have ability to do what? Understand. See, we're understanding knowledge and wisdom as a child understands his man, his king, and his queen. As a child understands his mother and his father. We understand from knowledge and wisdom being able to know what we're dealing with and having experience on what we're dealing with. We're able to see it, is to see things clearly. Understanding is the ability to see things clearly. And that is the third step to doing something. When we strive to build something, first we get the knowledge, the blueprint of what it is that we building. You know, we look it up and we check it out. and then we start to act on what it is that we just learned. You know, I'm looking good right here. And once we got through it, putting the pieces together and cranking it up, and now we see the car. We see what we just built. So we see clearly the ability of knowledge and wisdom. We see clearly the ability of knowledge and wisdom. We see clearly the ability of what? Ourselves. And as we do this, as we gain knowledge, having the ability to know the ledge, so you won't fall off the edge, as one of our old sayings, into the pit of ignorance.
Which is the devil's
civilization.
That's right.
We want to know the ledge so you won't fall off the edge into the devil's civilization, my brother. You know, wisdom, as we say, is the wise dome, my brother. Because we always break them down and we give it in ways that we can accept it and see it more than what we was looking, more than what we seen first. Wise dome. Your dome is your head. You want to put the wisdom here, right? So you break it down, you can see that, you know. And we're going to create a what out of this? A way of life. So number four always represents the four sides. And after you've made 3 steps, you've done something and you began doing something and you made it to this point right here. What you've done now is became something. See, so this is the first level of completion. This is the first trimester in pregnancy. The brain is born. This is the first level of completion right here. Now, once you got the knowledge and the wisdom, the understanding, you see and know how to build this thing that you just done. What you became now, understand mathematics. You have became that which you have come to know and understand. Which would be a carpenter, which would be a mathematician, which would be a car salesman, a car builder, whatever it was that you gained the knowledge on, you became that. I gained the knowledge on the culture of the nation of God's and earth, so I became what? A 5% God embodiment. That is the what? The 4. That means that now it's something else happening. I'm on number 4 now. So in all phases of life, we represent that voice, meaning that something else is happening. It's another form of completion because 4 has 4 sides. We're dealing with 90-degree angles here. And we're dealing with something that you can stand on because it has 4 sides. 4 represents culture. It represents a square. See, it represents a square as is necessary that right now what you're doing is squaring yourself away from what you've learned. Get yourself squared away. Get yourself squared away. How? You know what you know, you did what you did, now you see what you see, now you can get yourself squared away. Now you squared away, you stand on your square, this is your number 4, this is your culture. That's why we say this is the stage, now you're on to something else. Now you got a culture. What is culture? Culture is a way of life. Culture is a way of life. And we here at the 5%, we teach that the culture is, in the 5%, is what? Our God. The culture is our God. The culture is our God. And what we mean by that is the culture is our God, meaning you having a responsibility to born out the reality of self, because I represent born. I represent the 9th letter. The principle is born. Culture, having the ability, culture is your way of life. And when you have this culture, it brings forth something that we add on right here in this 4th stage. You always get this when you process this correctly. You have freedom. See, Anytime you have knowledge of something, you act on what you know, and you understand clearly what it is you're doing, you have a way of life that can free you. Because you somebody now, you're no longer Terry Shaw, you're no longer Johnson Bay. You're the guy now that represents what you know. So now you mean something. Now it frees you from being what? Enslaved. Because knowledge frees you.
Culture freedom, one way of life, which is Islam, ourself, law and master. Law is the freedom that actually frees you once in your culture, once you understand the law, that you are God and your culture is the original way of life, then that is total freedom.
That's freedom. And the law is Islam. Islam is the law, and that law is I self, Lord, and Master. I sincerely love Allah mathematics, meaning inclining toward the nature of self and the ability of self and doing that which you know you can do and not.
Come on, bro. You good.
I say,
You good. You just have a cycle.
yeah. And now you know. You got your freedom. Now you got this freedom. You got this culture. You got this way of life. You know this, and you got freedom to do something. With that freedom comes this within this second stage. All this comes within this second stage of pregnancy. Now comes power. And the ability to refine. Power is the truth of 120 degrees of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Power is the ability to manifest anything one desire. Now, power lies within the black man and woman, both physically and mentally. Power, which is the truth of 120 degrees of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and the ability to manifest anything one desires, says lies within the black man both physically and mentally. Physically, on all 5 limbs, due to the fact that the 5 limbs of the original people sits on 72 degrees. Arm, leg, arm, head. And when you time these 5 times 72, you get 360 degrees of completion. So we sit naturally on power, which is 120 degrees of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, DNA. We have the ability to manifest anything that we desire after refinement, which is to radiate your mental state of mind to strive for perfection. Which is righteousness. Going into accord with one's nature. So, power, number 5, represent the 5 limbs of our original self and the secret of our 5 limbs sitting on 72 degrees on each point, and that 72 degrees always going out being 360 degrees, seeing that the original people are the divine truth bearers here. And we have the ability to refine, to radiate, to mental state of mind, to strive for perfection. We have that ability dealing with that coming from our natural self. That power lies within the black people, both physically and mentally. And dealing with this, once we acquire this ability in the womb, we have brain in our first trimester. Then we start to create in that brain that information that was processed in that brain. And now that brain shaped itself and wired itself and freed itself to become its own self, to have 5 limbs, and it can be equal and come out as a premature baby in the 6-month process. Now we're dealing with equality. Equality is to be equal in all things. Simple. There's no other way to deal with equality. It's to be equal. There's no other way to talk about that. But we want to act like there's so much to reach for. No, it's just to be equal in all things. And my equality is not me giving $500,000 to Ant, my brother Peter, and giving $500,000 to Ant Ski, the director. That's not equality. That ain't dealing on equality because I gave you the same thing I gave him. Equality would mean that I give you what you can have and I give you what you can have. So I got to have what? Knowledge, wisdom, understanding to deal with what? Equality. Now, we have the ability to deal with equality fair and justly when we have power, because that is the truth. We know that the truth of equality have the ability, have the common sense of dealing with a person where you meet them. You have the ability to come up and come down. You have the ability to adjust volumes. That's the ability of our God. And now it is we are in an equal state, and being in the same state as equality.
You fine, come on.
You all right?
How are you?
This supreme mathematics right here. This ain't for y'all.
Then dealing with equality, then you're dealing with just plain out being equal. Okay, now this is the stage where children are able to come out. We always show how the 9 months of birth deals with the same 9 steps of mathematics. It's absolutely the same. Steps in mathematics is law. Mathematics is the law. That's the law. And that is the law that is dealing with a sequence of events or space, volumes, sets, numbers, the science of that. That's law. And that's what justice tends to deal with to bring about convictions on cases. They say they dealing with mathematics. They present to the public like they use the mathematics. They say they need DNA, actual facts, fingerprints, all such actual fact. That's called mathematics. That means that if I go to trial, you got to prove beyond reasonable doubt. Ain't no other way to prove nothing beyond reasonable doubt by having mathematical proof. So, mathematics, dealing with the science, getting down to equality, born out, becoming equal. And when you become equal in your original self, you become equal to who you are. And here, we become equal to being God, which is the supreme being. And I can keep on writing. But we're going to deal with the supreme being because that is the most important properties of that definition. Listen, God is the supreme being. It ain't got nothing to do with no mystery. It ain't said nothing nowhere, not in nobody's book, that God was anything other than a supreme being. That highest form of life that brought life, light, and energy to everybody who claimed to have gotten it was a being. Being means to exist on the realms of senses, to being able to communicate and correspond. You have to be a supreme being, meaning to be here in order to be a reflection of this, is what we call this on earth. On earth, God has a definition, and the definition of these properties. So these properties are what we are looking up to as God on earth. Now you have any other way of born out God, that probably don't apply to earth. Supreme being, the highest form of being on earth. Supreme means the manifestation of the highest form of life, which is mind. Everything came from mind. That's the highest form of life. That's the highest form of growth and development, the mind. So as we're able to have knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we're able to bring and produce from the mind that which we know, acted on, and understand, so that we're bringing forth growth and development. So we are being the supreme being. That's the highest form of life. It don't get no higher than manifesting from the mind in a righteous way for growth and development. It's easy to bring forth from the mind destruction. You do that all the time. But see, the duty of a God is to bring forth from the mind growth and development. That's the supreme being. That's the highest form of being. It ain't say the supreme, it ain't say the God was the low life being, the savage being. So if you're a savage, a beast, you ain't no God. You ain't no supreme being. So, and being the supreme being, we have the ability to reach this level, which is to build and destroy. And we have the ability to do this what? At will. Build and destroy, which is to add on and taking away on a daily basis. We ought to add on and take away on a daily basis, meaning that we ought to gain information and add on what we don't need today, and take away what we add on what we need today and take away what we don't need. Today, I may get up and I may add on vitamin C today, and I may take away tobacco today. Tomorrow, I may add on $400 to the account, and I may take away some bad tires on my car. Adding on and taking away. Simple mathematics. Learning how to do the math. In doing this and carrying on, we born ourselves out. You born out, being born right now, as the baby has reached this level of born, is being brought out into the reality of oneself. When you're born again Christian, you're supposed to be brought into the reality of something, of yourself, firstly. So if you are born again Christian, where are you now? Where's the knowledge of you now? Christian? When you are born, you're brought into the reality of self. Who are you? What are you doing? Each and every day, in each and every way, we must show, improve, and teach in a righteous way. We are the 5%. As we talked about, that is not no we standing on the 5. That means that it's a mathematical concept of the mass, which is 100% of a whole. 5%. 5% is the percentage of the whole. Any perimeter, try me, test me, and make me out a lie. Any perimeter, any circumference that you're in, whatever the number of that population is, do your percentage. Get 5% of that people out of there, and I'm guaranteed that will be the few people that are able to understand the reality of God and manifest that reality within their lives, and teaching that without being in fear of the United States government. Ain't nothing but a few. And that's a percentage that we're dealing with, and that percentage is the supreme mathematics. Peace. Any questions? That's what we're going to deal with for today.
But I want to add on. God, supreme being, let me see that. Right here, well, it's come in right here. Equality. It's the science said to deal equally among all human families among the planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So right there we got all human families on the planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Earth being her.
Mm-hmm.
Human coming to the next one. Equal to deal equally among all human families.
Mm-hmm.
So now we go with human, which is human being. So we're gonna do this here. When you break it down, it's hue, which is the housing of all colors, man being mind, hue mind being, which is entity, hue mind entity. They show you the light above the firmament, just as below the firmament. So in order to become God, being a supreme being, you understand that you are dealing with all human races on the planet Earth equally. Then that allows you to understand the human entity concept that makes you be the supreme being, manifesting God. God does born. All he does is born. Whether even when he destroys, he is born. It's one and the same.
You got it out the gate. Simultaneously. I don't want to be recycling like that.
Cycle. Oh, when you come back. Okay. Because I want to break that down too. But I can wait till you come back.
Cipher, and we're going to start with a piece of the alphabet.
Okay.
I ain't have no room, that's why I gonna deal with born too.
Yeah, because there's
I ain't have no room.
C-I power her.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
That's it. That's it. We're gonna wrap this up, man. We had the brother NC come up here, man, live right now on YouTube and help out. And guess what? We're gonna wrap this up for the first class, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna start off with our cipher. And we're gonna get as many alphabets as we can on our board. Appreciate all of y'all that tuned in. Peace. Supreme, man. Y'all going it out each and every day, each and every way. So true, teaching the right way, going out God.